This is Lee Dort, and I'm down to dunk. This is Lee Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
I'm Josh Giddey, and I'm down to dunk.
Hey, this is Kenny Hustle, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Darius Baisley, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Mike Muscala, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Poku, and I'm down to dunk.
I love cereal. Captain Crunch, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cracklin Oat Bran.
Oh, I can have these? I'm going to share with my team, but I'm going to hog most of them.
Good morning and welcome to episode 3
Oh my!
of 6-3 of Down to Dunk. You can find us on The Athletic and anywhere else you subscribe to your podcast. Go to theathletic.com/down to dunk and get The Athletic for $1 a month for 6 months. Go out and try some Dream Scenario, available in stores now or at Lively Beer Works. I am Luke, joined this morning by Andrew.
I gotta say, I'm just fired up to be here today. It's pretty cool, pretty damn cool. Woo!
Slam through.
And Jay.
It's Jay.
What's up, dogs?
What's up? We kicked Tayshawn off the podcast because he wasn't there on Tuesday night, and he's bad luck.
He is bad luck.
We told him last night that from now on, as long as the Thunder need the lottery odds, that he can't be in the United States of America. He has to be in Europe somewhere.
Yeah, he's not allowed to be
he's in
around
Europe?
us.
I thought he was in South America.
He's
No,
in Portugal.
Portugal, I thought, was in South America.
No.
Portugal's by
Really?
Spain.
They speak Portuguese
Uh-huh.
in Brazil. So
Yeah,
maybe that was the
that's-
confusion.
that's-
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just dumb.
No.
No.
I was thinking he was in Peru.
There we
Peru.
go. That is
Oh.
in South America.
I know. That's where I got the mistake.
Yeah. Common mistake.
But
Wow.
studying
Not a lot of P countries out there.
A lot of peas.
I don't know about that.
Hold on, let
Few
me
peas.
think.
Poland.
Poland,
Portugal,
Portugal,
Peru.
Pantarctica.
So huge shout out to everybody that showed up on Tuesday night. There's always this kind of pattern when we do one of these events, which probably now we can just let it go, where I'm sending out a text on Monday. Or maybe it's Tuesday.
Philippines, Paraguay.
Ooh, yeah, I thought Paraguay. I didn't want to say it and then sound stupid, but Luke thought Portugal was in South America.
Aha.
So, but it's always one of these things where I send out a text. I'm like, do you guys know if anybody's going to show up? Because when I emailed the Jones Assembly, I was like, listen, there could be anywhere between 100 to 200, 250 people.
There could be between 1 and 200 people.
Yeah. And what they heard when I said that was there may be 7 people.
So
there.
maybe like 35 people are showing up.
And so I'm starting to like panic. I was like, I don't know if anybody's going to show up.
Same. I did the exact same thing.
I think it may just be the 3 of us, maybe 2 of our friends.
Yeah.
And then we get there, and there's already probably 50 people there at 5:30.
Mhm.
And the next thing you know, wall to wall, psychotic Thunder fans.
I'm bad at guessing that thing in elementary school. You have to guess how many beans are in the jar, and you get a
Yeah.
free something if you win.
Yeah.
I was always bad at that, so I'm not very good at it still. I would guess there were
4,000 people?
400
Oh,
people.
okay. Yeah, I think that's
I was told by somebody, if you think it's 400, always say 500.
Or like, well, see, okay. I think it's
we should have had people number off.
see what I did last year is I
Number
handed out.
off.
I
All right.
handed out
1,
the raffle tickets.
2.
Mm-hmm.
I handed out raffle tickets, so I know last year we had 275. I know
Yeah.
that.
There was also people inside constantly to get
Yeah.
a good gauge of what was going on. And so it was wild. And it doesn't matter how long we'll do this and how often we have these parties and people show up. It will always be like an unbelievable thing to me,
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah.
I did
Where
the
we
same
just walk
thing.
around like, this is unreal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
It was-
awesome. I always do the thing where the day before I like send out the message to like all my friends, be like, "Hey guys, it's this. You really should come." Because it's like, no, I'm like, no one's gonna come. We're gonna get there. It's gonna be
It's
like,
just gonna be you and your buddies partying at
it's gonna be
Jones
us.
Assembly,
Like we need someone there.
which they did. They showed up. Your
Yeah,
crew
but
was there.
But it turned up. But the turnout is always so good. People come from far away. People just not a bad egg there. It's great. I love it.
It's so much fun. And we are going to have a draft party. We are ironing out some details on what that looks like. We don't have anything set in stone, but we should have that quicker than the last
But we know
times.
when it's gonna be. So mark your calendars.
What's that, June 23rd?
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Mark them.
It's a Thursday. It's weird. It's like when I think about it, because last year was really the first time that we did a like full-blown draft lottery, then
23rd.
draft party.
Yeah.
Because the year before was 2020, and that was a funky year where Poku was drafted anyway. And then the year before, I think we did Banquet Cinema, which is no longer existing. Rest in peace.
All right.
And so doing these things, like last year, everything was pushed back a month, and I forgot about that.
Mhm.
It's like, why is it June feels early? It's because last year June was when the lottery was, and July is when the draft was because of the weird schedule. So anyway, just huge shout out. Thank you so much for coming to be a part of that. You all are so kind and nice. Love taking pictures. And one of the things I said to a few people, like, if you meet us, try to reconnect with us. And, or at least for me, like I met a couple guys that are out of Texas that are in student ministry. And I was like, dude, reach back out to me so I can actually kind of remember you. And then my man Paul from Norman, which is was so funny because I saw him and he had an Ennis Cantor jersey on when he was at the last
Oh,
draft
yeah.
party.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I walked up to him. I was like, give me a second. And I pulled his name out
You
of the hat.
did.
Yes.
That's like
I
the
felt- I
most
was like,
pastor thing for you to do. Wow.
yes.
Wow.
So anyway, man, it was just, it was like glowing for the rest of the week. Not to mention the fact that the party happened,
Yeah.
but also the Oklahoma City Thunder got the number 2 pick.
I know, man.
Which that's
that's
another one of my favorite parts is if you watch your video, it's like people don't know how to respond when they're picked at 2 because it's like this disappointment into jubilee, like immediately.
Yeah, it was. It's so funny because it you want to be called at 1, but you realize very quickly that who cares? The Thunder got the 2nd pick in a draft where you just want to be in the top 3. And like the point of just absolute insanity was when the Rockets were drawn at 3.
Yes, that was
and
awesome.
it just is so beautiful to see that Rockets card pulled before the Thunders.
From
and then,
the commercial break,
yeah,
like that, they drew those numbers so quickly.
they do it fast.
They do it so fast, and I didn't realize. I thought it'd be like they draft 4, and then they were like.
Yeah,
Say 4, and then it's like,
talk about
okay,
it. Yeah.
let's take a beat, let's take a breath.
There's
let's
no
give people-
beats, man.
No, it was just like 4, 3, 2, and so it was awesome
Oh, so
because
good.
it was just like
Yeah.
I didn't have any idea it would be that.
I think
I was
that-
celebrating, and they're like, it's already 3, and it's already not us.
yeah,
well, post commercial break, you definitely had still a tinge of anxiety because 4
you don't want to be 4.
you don't want to be
You
4.
really just
Yeah.
don't. I mean, it would have been fine. The place wouldn't have gone berserk if we got 4.
The fact that it played out exactly like it did was perfect. And this week I think a majority of Thunder fans, at least probably a majority of the people that would spend their Tuesday night getting wild, is they spent the rest of the week consuming as much NBA draft content as humanly possible.
Yeah, definitely.
And the media world knows that.
Mhm.
So everybody was putting stuff out. If you have not listened to the Slam and Jam draft extravaganza with James Edwards and Kelly Iko and James Robbins,
Josh Robbins.
Josh Robbins, which
Yeah.
I should know that because he's the best
He's the
media
best.
personality in the entire NBA.
Yeah, he's good.
And then Matt Penny, of course, at the end. And then she was great. The girl from Sacramento.
Yeah, Jillian Adge.
she was fantastic.
Yeah, she's
anyway,
really good.
so if you haven't listened to that one, that's a great listen. Obviously, Sam Vecini and Matt Penny did one the night of. Woj had Mike Schmitz on. It's
Yeah.
just there's content galore. But here's the best part about that is as I'm listening to that, and we don't know how Presti's going to evaluate these guys.
Mhm.
But as you're listening to that, you can hear in a majority of takes that there's a pretty definitive 1-2 where they land. Not really as definitive, but 1-2 between Chet Holmgren and Jabari Smith Jr.
Yeah.
And then there's at least some sort of line of demarcation between 2 and 3 where
Mhm.
Paolo, as much as I love him, most people that know the NBA draft are at least setting him just a slight tier below 1 and 2.
Like Schmitz mentioned on his show that he might have Keegan Murray like creeping up into the Paulo Banchero range, which was like, oh, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that guy knows a ton. So I would respect that evaluation, but that's just, I mean, that tells you something about the range that the Thunder are in. Like this is the tier you want to be in.
Yep.
And whoever is selected at 1,
You take 2.
you take 2. And you can find ways to be excited about either one, whether the Thunder get Jabari or Chet.
Yeah, I think you genuinely flip a coin.
Yeah.
I would be thrilled with Chet.
Yeah.
I would be thrilled with Jabari.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to be nervous no matter what for
Why?
whoever we pick.
Why?
I'm just nervous about everything.
I just have just a general nervousness.
Just nervousness about it all.
Yeah.
Yes, it has not subsided since really just before the lottery.
Well, and I do think the thing that, not that I'm nervous about, but the thing I am intrigued the most about, because it really is to me, I'm not even remotely concerned about what they do at 1-2. Like either one of those guys, I have a very high, and Chet has grown on me dramatically since Tuesday, hearing some of these people talk about him and his potential development, watching a little bit more about him. But in addition to that, I think that for me, the most intriguing thing about the draft is I do think that there's a real possibility of moving from 12 into the top 10. What that would take, obviously it's all speculation, of course, but I think that that's the intrigue to me, is if Sam does fall in love with the guy, like Mathurin or even somebody like Shaedon Sharpe, where does he fall?
Mm-hmm.
I think that you could see Sam maybe exhausting a little bit of his future capital, investing it with that 12 pick to maybe move up. So I don't know. It's all obviously just hope. But then the guy from, and I should know his name, but the guy from Draft Deeper, somebody asked him a question on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "Listen, the Thunder may just want to be patient because they could have somebody fall to them at 12,
Somebody's gonna fall.
like Jeremy Sohan."
Jeremy Sohan.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
somebody that Penny was like, if this happens,
Clearly, I remember.
That's all I ever think when I read his name. Yeah, somebody's gonna fall. That's good. Like Johnny Davis. I think it's Sohan is how you really pronounce it. Dyson Daniels is on the NBA.com mock draft. Dyson Daniels will be awesome. One, he's Australian, which would be cool to have two Australian guys. And Josh, like he and Josh played together. And he just measured at 6'7". He's grown like an inch or two.
shoes or no shoes?
Shoes. I hate that they do no shoes. It's the dumbest thing. Everybody plays in shoes. Why would you measure anybody without shoes?
It's like you got to get those guys who wear platforms out.
You can make them wear the same kind. Like you have to wear this kind of shoe. Like you can just require, like, hey,
Yeah.
we're gonna measure you in this kind of shoe. But nobody
can
plays
put-
barefoot.
You can put stuff in your shoes to make you look taller.
It's like I'm 1 inch taller in cowboy boots. So if I measured in cowboy boots,
It's like, have you ever seen pictures of like Robert Downey Jr., Tom Cruise walking around? They walk around in about a 3-inch heel, all of them, because they're all short.
they're all
So-
tiny guys.
Yeah, so you could do that.
You could. I guess it is just trying to
Guy walks in on stilts. Howdy, I'm 11 feet tall.
Yeah, Paulo Banchero measured at 9 feet tall today because he's on stilts. What is he on stilts? How does he measure on stilts? But there's gonna be somebody good that drops to them, and if 30 helps you get to
I'm even saying 10.
7, I don't
Is
know
it
if
not
it's
worth
worth.
moving
I
up
just
just
don't
a
know if
few?
it's worth it.
And it all depends. I think it does depend on who Sam begins to really like in the process.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be good players at 12. and I would just wait, because you've already done in getting number 2. You have already done like the most difficult thing, about trading up in the draft or getting a draft position. Right? Like you had, like this is gravy. Like 12 is just the gravy pick, and there's gonna be somebody that falls to the Thunder. And maybe they do like Shaden. Maybe it is Ben Mathurin that they really like. If it's either one of those, yeah, totally. I get it. Like you want an athletic wing. Both of them really measure closer to like shooting guard height, like 6'5". Like Shaden Sharp measured at 6'5", which gets me less excited about him, honestly. Like if he's 6'7".
Yeah, because what did Trey Mann measure out at 6'4"?
His actual like measurement was 6'5", but he's like 6'3".
Yeah, he must have had them stilts on.
Yeah, he came in on stilts.
It's kind of like an Airbud thing. There's no rules that you can't.
Just right, so you can't.
That's right.
No rules that you can, so you can.
So you can.
Airbud.
Well, there's not a rule against it. I'll allow it.
But yeah, I mean, there does seem to be a tier that like 13, 14, 15, I would be less excited about. It's just kind of funny. Like in every mock draft, ESPN has Ousmane Dieng. That's somebody that a lot of people have mocked to the Thunder, who's is a very interesting prospect.
He's more of a swing, right?
He's definitely a swing. The story on him is that the beginning of his season was horrible. Like there was no stat to back up that he was even an NBA player. Second half of the season, he was really, really good. The shot looks good. Good passer. He's got good length. He's not the greatest athlete, but good enough. Kind of swing for the fences type of prospect. The Ringer has them taking Ousmane Dieng. The Athletic has them taking Dyson Daniels. SI.com has Jeremy Sohan. And
every single person that remembers Pearl Jam will now only think about that.
I know
every time.
Every time. Yahoo Sports, I'm not sure who does Yahoo Sports, has the Thunder taking Abaji from Kansas, which is just like,
probably not going to happen.
Not going to happen. That would be shocking. Not that I don't like him. I do like him. Bleacher Report, Sohan.
Why is that shocking?
Because he's old.
Oh, isn't he the senior?
Yeah, he's a senior at. Yeah. Was he junior or senior? I can't remember.
I mean, either way, he's older than.
I just would be surprised, and I think there's better options there.
No, that doesn't sound like
he's a guy that you're going to get if you need somebody to contribute immediately.
Yeah,
so that's why he makes sense in that 13 to 20 range.
Mm-hmm. Gary Parrish at CBS Sports has AJ Griffin to Oklahoma City, which that's who I took to in the beat writer mock draft on The Athletic. Just because he fell, I'd be surprised if he got to 12.
I think with his youth, like he's the second or third youngest player in the draft,
second youngest guy to Duren.
He's got an NBA pedigree. His father, Adrian Griffin, maybe the coach of the Lakers actually eventually, but I think that somebody's going to take him on the potential for the upside. Not to mention that he was pretty elite from the perimeter in college. Mm-hmm. So I think somebody will take a flyer on him before that.
Mm-hmm. Kyle Boone, my guy Kyle Boone, shout out, has Ousmane Dieng. But I mean, those are the kind of names that you're seeing, and like all of those are like that sounds great. I mean, some of those guys we're talking about, if things didn't go right, and you're at 8 or 7 or 6, those are some of the names that we talked about at those spots that made sense for the Thunder. And so to get that guy plus Chet or Jabari is you start to really understand like the thought process behind what Sam was wanting to do. And it was, I think the Thunder were going to do this enough times to where eventually this kind of result was going to happen. It's just really nice for it to happen in draft number 2.
Yeah, I think that was probably what was like an underlying emotional part of the response is we are impatient. Like,
Mhm.
and even I don't know if you probably heard it, but Sam and no, it wasn't even them. It was Russillo, Bill Simmons, and KOC were talking about. They're like, it feels. They almost acknowledge what we've talked about. He said it feels like it's longer, but this is draft number 2
Yeah.
on their rebuild.
Yeah.
So just the fortune behind that. But I know that for Thunder fans, we become impatient where we're like, gosh, are we gonna have to suffer? Because it's a total different game if you're watching. I don't know, man. I have a buddy who's a season ticket holder, and he reached out. He's like, what does this mean? I was like, listen, it may not mean a bunch as far as ultimate record at the end of the season, but it's going to mean a bunch with us as far as people's excitement to watch this team. Like if you roll out
Yeah. Without a doubt.
Chet, Giddey, Shea, JRE, Dort as your starting lineup, which I actually think would be a blast to watch. And
Really
then you have
fun.
Trey Mann coming off the bench and whoever
Yeah.
they draft 12 plus Poku,
Yeah.
like whoever it is that comes
Or
off
at
the bench.
30. I mean, the thing is, the way we think about this team is going to change so much in 5 weeks. Like
Yeah.
it's going to be. We're going to laugh at some of the things that we said last year, because there's going to be so many guys that played on last year's team that played significant minutes that won't play.
Or may not even be on the team.
That might not be on the team. Yes, exactly. So, I mean, it will be exciting. I think the year will be very exciting. I think if you're bringing in the second pick and the 12th pick, those guys are going to play a lot. And I think the Thunder will be back in the lottery, not because they're going to really, really try and that they're going to quote unquote tank. Young teams lose.
Yeah.
That's just the way that it is. I mean, I would think about it as, the second draft for the Thunder was Russell Westbrook. And they had Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant on the same team, and they
then got 3
sucked.
for Harden, right?
Yeah.
I would think about this season as that. And now the Thunder, their timeline is pushed a little bit further because Dort's ahead of anybody that was on there. Shea is ahead of that. But still, if you play the number 2 player and number 12 player significant minutes, and even 30, like the guy who they drafted 30 could play significant minutes too. You're playing exclusively like first, second, third year players.
You're going to be fun, but you're not going to win a lot of
You
games.
will lose games. I mean, that's just the way that
Some
it
of
is.
that just depends on. We have a general idea of what tier of guy Shea is.
Yeah.
We have a general idea.
Yeah.
If he makes any sort of leap between last year and this year, I mean, that's the thing where you're like, now, I'm not saying they're going to be pushing for the playing game, which is actually because there's 10 teams that can make it in. Is like,
Yeah.
I mean, what were the Pelicans? 10 games under 500 and made the playing game or something like that.
Yeah. And they'll be better.
But the encouragement is you look at the Kings, who had the 7th best odds for moving into the top 5, which apparently, I can't remember the statistic, but apparently somewhere around that range, 7 or 8, those teams have jumped into the top 4.
Yeah. Jillian Adge said that every year that they adjusted the odds, which has only been 3 years, I think, 7 has jumped up every year.
Yeah. So that is an encouragement, at least. And if you get 4 in the 2023 draft,
Mm-hmm.
you are going to feel like you just, stole something.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at roughly, from what they're saying, it's super early, but you've got roughly 5 guys in the 2023 draft that potentially could have been in the top 1 or 2 of this draft.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, there's just, it's
And that's
just,
what you, I mean,
so much of it's luck,
that's
right?
what you want, though. I mean, if you're the Thunder and you've got really one shot at this rebuild, you want to stack as much talent as you can. And it's not about tanking. What it's about is everybody looks at oh man, how are the Thunder going to compete with the Mavericks and with the Grizzlies and with all these teams? The way they do it is that they just stack talent in the draft the next 2 years and then use their draft capital to fill out the rest of the roster. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
And you let young guys play, you let them fail, you let them succeed, you let them grow together, you let them develop chemistry, you allow Mark Daigneault to, for him to grow as a coach, and you just allow room for all of it to happen. And I mean, the truth is, the Thunder team, the first go around came together way faster than they ever thought it would. And there's a chance that happens with this team too. I just wouldn't. I would just try to understand that like the hope is like this team maybe does take a step where they're not don't have the fourth best odds, but maybe they do have the seventh or eighth best odds, and then you add another lottery pick to the team, and then you feel more ready. But what's great is that drawing two, like a core of Shea, Giddey, Chet, or Shea, Giddey, Jabari, feels so much better today than it would have been if it was like Shea, Giddey, AJ Griffin, or somebody like that, where it's just like, okay, like if it's Shea, Giddey, AJ Griffin, you're just like, okay, that's good. Like I understand the fit. That's cool. I just don't know how they reach like a high ceiling with Jabari and with Chet. Like you don't have to ask those questions again, because I think that, you know, you can see a path. You can see the path with both of those guys, in my opinion, that they raise the ceiling of what the Thunder can be significantly. And then if you get lucky again next year, or even if you don't, you know, just adding a building block piece, you know, the Thunder added a building block piece with Josh Giddey at 6. And next year is supposed to feel like a similar draft to last year's draft. And if you can get a player the caliber of a Josh Giddey again, and by the way, getting Josh just feels like the exact right pick this year, even more than last year, because
if they'd have gotten 4 and you're like looking at Jaden Ivey, you're like,
yeah,
which you'd be, I mean, you're taking best player available. I get all,
you have to do it,
but to be able to get a big, because Jabari Smith measured out at 6'10", 6'10 and a half. Chet is 7 foot with a 25-foot wingspan. Slender man. Anyway, but
I mean, just having that guy there, he's gonna make the life of Jabari or Chet so much easier.
Oh my god!
And it's gonna be so much better.
Yes, without question.
It's the perfect pick, because if you look at this year's draft, like Paolo might be the best passer.
Yeah, but they don't need that
in round 1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's not another guy that can like really link together an offense and can help run an offense.
Yeah, it's one of the things they've said is there's not really a point guard that blows people away.
Yeah,
like most of these guys are more combo guards or even more to Johnny Davis or Jaden.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to just real briefly, and I know we've got some Twitter questions. We've already probably spent 35 minutes talking about the draft, which is
only 27 minutes.
Important.
We've got time.
So the history of the number 12 pick. You know, I mean, it's mixed, but what's crazy is you listen to these is a bunch of these actually were Thunder guys or Sonics guys, which is kind of funny. But you got PJ Washington in 2019. I don't remember who it was last year, the 12th pick. It didn't have this on here. You've got Miles Bridges, Luke Kennard, Torian Prince, Trey Lyles, Dario Saric, Steven Adams, Jeremy Lamb. So there's 2 guys that played for the Thunder. Alec Burks also was on the Thunder for a second, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. They signed him in free agency and then let him go after the Russ and Paul George trades.
Xavier Henry, shout out Putnam City. Gerald Henderson, Jason Thompson, Thad Young, Hilton Armstrong, Thunder.
Hilton Armstrong.
No, he wasn't Thunder. He
was
played
Hornets.
For the Hornets, yeah.
Josh Primo was last year.
Okay, yeah. You know, and then you've got a guy I've never even heard of, Yaroslav Korolev, Robert Swift, Nick Collison.
Yeah.
So you go through those collections of guys, like, and you know, you're roughly hitting about 65% on guys that are still in the NBA or contributors on a decent level.
Yeah. Guys that played for the Thunder.
That's about 50% guys that play for the Thunder or at least in Oklahoma City.
Yeah. No, it's exciting. And I do think that there's good players in that range. And I mean, those are the kind of players that we've been drafting through the years, and that range feels comfortable. But man, the summer league teams are going to be so fun. Like the Utah team is going to be incredible. You know, I assume they're going to let the number 2 pick play with Giddey and Trey and all those guys.
I hope.
And that's going to be a blast because you get to see them pretty quick. You know, the draft is the 23rd. Summer league's like
2 weeks later.
Yeah. I think a week later is because
it's right around 4th of July, right?
2 weeks after is Vegas, and Utah is before Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a blast.
Which Utah, isn't it basically done in like a high school gym with very little access to it.
I don't
It's not like
know.
Vegas. I know that for sure.
Yeah, it's not going to be like Vegas.
It feels
for
like the
sure.
old Orlando ones where it was like in a practice facility and basically it's media and
Yeah.
Executives.
Yeah, Vegas is going to be so fun. I cannot. Now I'm like, I really can't wait.
Did you get Alex
for
to
that.
go?
I mean, just had a baby, man. I don't know.
Take him.
Take the baby.
Take her.
Cal. No, boy.
Him.
Yeah.
No?
Cool. I'm still nervous.
What are you nervous
I'm
about?
just
Elton?
nervous. Like I was at the lottery party and I was like, I could throw up at any second.
Yeah,
I'm so
I know.
nervous for this
I
to
know.
happen.
Do you actually throw up when you get nervous?
No,
But your stomach turns a little bit.
my stuff was just like, yeah, it was. Just, it was
Yeah.
just-
I get the
Feeling it.
nervous peas. Do you get the nervous peas?
No,
Nervous peas. No.
Nervous peas.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
nope, I don't.
All right.
I did a poll last night on Twitter. 2,300 Thunder fans on who you'd want most at number 2. Chet was the overall winner there at 48%, Jabari 33%, Paulo 18%, and then 1% of people wanted somebody else.
That's the Shaden Sharpers.
Yeah, which is just like
They really talked.
those
themselves into
are
it.
our imagination boys, just people that got really good imaginations, just loving that 1%. But
Mhm.
yeah, where are you guys at right now? Who do you guys want?
I've talked myself into chat.
Okay.
That's what I want.
I think I've done that because I'm pretty confident that Jabari is going to go to Orlando. But I really don't. Like you
Yeah.
could, if either one of those guys fell to Oklahoma City, I'm like, perfect.
It
Because
feels
they
like
fit well.
Orlando fans want Chet badly. The ones that I've seen, there's been some Orlando fans in my mentions, just not good, not good. Scary, scary place, scary place. to
Right.
be.
Who was it that just trashed the Magic on the podcast?
Marcus Thompson,
Marcus Thompson.
and I'm paying for his sins. I am paying for the sins of Marcus Thompson right now.
But yeah, I think that I probably am leaning towards Chet. I think Jabari, his shooting motion is just stunning. And so to see how big he is, how hard he works, it's one of the things Schmidt said about him is
Mm-hmm.
he's one of those guys that gets to the gym a couple hours early, does a full workout before, he even gets ready for the game kind of thing. And those are the things. He also has an NBA pedigree, like his dad played, I think they say 100 games or something in the NBA. I know Chet's dad played overseas and played college ball. So the thing about Chet, and really the thing about both of them, but the thing about Chet that is such a differentiation part of him, that dude is a maniac,
Yeah,
aggressive, competitive.
that's why I think he's just
Between
such
him
a
and
Thunder
Giddey,
guy.
man, it will be the intensity on the floor is going to be.
They're gonna love it. Like he and Giddey and Dort and Shea, like they're gonna love playing with each other.
Giddy
if
wrote
they
on
get
his
to.
Instagram.
I know
You saw
Giddey
that?
has been on the Chet train for a
Yeah.
little while.
Yeah, he put those eyeball emojis.
Yeah,
It's unicorns, man.
yeah.
I do think also you put him with JRE.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think you're going to have, and this is exactly what I went to because I was watching a little bit of Chet and I was like, you could have, because the fear is his body, is it going to hold up? Which somebody said something, I can't give credit to who it went to, but maybe it's John Hollinger. Because he is more slender frame, a lot of big guys put the wear and tear on their body because of their size.
Mm-hmm.
Chet will not be able to, stand up against Embiid or Jokic or even Zubac, or
Yeah,
anybody really.
Yeah.
But the thing is if the Thunder, which Mark is so brilliant, but if you remember, like the way that they used Perk and Surge could actually be the way that you could use like a JRE
Mm-hmm.
and Chet,
That's a
where you
good
have
point.
JRE using the body to at least kind of slow down some of these bigs, but to have Chet as your rim protector that is able to help off. And I mean, dude,
And we thought, like, if you think Surge was like a great rim protector, and he was, like, watch out.
yeah, Chet is elite
Because Chet is
already.
a level above. And some of that is that he has like way more length than Surge did. But like the timing and the basketball IQ is just through the roof. with
And he
Chet.
can also, like, if you watch even the GIF that I posted with the Twitter question yesterday, that's a 7 foot tall, 195 pound, 7'7" wingspan or whatever it is.
Mhm.
literally taking someone off the dribble
Yeah.
and attacking the basket. Not to mention that one of his goals, they asked him, whoever it was on the ESPN coverage, he said, my goal is to be a 50, 40, 90.
Yeah.
Like he wants to shoot. Like that's a big wanting
That's a
to
wild statement.
wanting
It is.
to
Yeah.
shoot over 40% from the 3-point line, which he's already, I don't know, man. He has the potential, man. And that's what I'm saying. It was like quickly. I was like, yep, I'm in. Whatever. That
I know.
sounds
And
great.
hearing Mike Schmitz talk about him in particular on that podcast was like, okay, yep, I'm in on Chet.
Yeah.
You know, after he got done talking, I do think that Jabari is the easiest player to imagine, you know, within this Thunder system, though.
especially for an impatient fan base, right? Because
Yeah.
Jabari's going to come in almost immediately,
Yeah.
and do the things that you're like, oh,
He's
wow.
gonna take a ton of threes, and
think
he's
Chet
gonna
will too.
he's gonna make a ton of threes. You know,
Yeah.
I mean that's
So
I can
really,
see-
like, whoever, we obviously don't get to control who the Magic take at 1, but it really doesn't matter because both are top tier guys.
You
is
should-
what I'm hearing.
you should feel very excited with whoever you get.
So
Yeah.
so either way on draft night, like, we will be excited.
Yeah, I think so. Unless Sam does something off the wall, and then we have to figure out if they're good later, kind of thing, like with Josh, you
Or
know,
Russ.
or Russell Westbrook, you know. But I would be surprised. Like some people are like, well, Sam Presti always does something. Like Sam Presti also took Kevin Durant number 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so he likes to do things off the wall, but also if there's 2 guys that are the best in a draft, he's going to take one of the 2. You know, if he doesn't think that Chet or Jabari is the second best player, he'll take somebody else. He won't be afraid to do it. But I would be surprised if at the end of the day they don't wind up with one of those guys. And I know Paulo is somebody that I think could be selected as well. Like he's insanely talented, great scorer, great passer. He's, you know, you don't have the frame concerns with him because he's 250 pounds, 6'10". Like he's a monster. And so I wouldn't be shocked if they selected him. But if it's somebody outside of those 3, you know, the only one I can really imagine is Shaden Sharp, just because there's so much mystery around him, and he could be like this 6'5", like crazy athlete that shoots it and can, you know, dribble past anybody, and maybe he's, you know, Zach LaVine on steroids, and like you think that that's the best player in the draft. Like, okay, sure. I would be floored, and I would be very nervous if they did something like that. I would expect it to be one of those 3 and really one of those 2 in Chet or Jabari on draft night. And, you know, it's exciting. It's exciting stuff.
It is exciting. I'm very happy that it's I'm so nervous. But I am excited. And that nervousness, that's why we all, like, if you're nervous too, we'll have a draft party. You can come and be excited and nervous and joyful all together with us, just like we were, because it really is just better to have a group of people that are all on the same page.
Yeah, we all it was great, because then a lot of people said, like, I needed to be here with you know, Thunder fans, with people that understood, that people understand the process we're going through, with how important it is. You know, the nervous energy, like the collective nervous energy that we all had was just, it was like, frankly, it was awesome. Like, it was just so cool to be in the same room with just tons of people that feel the same way and that are hoping for the same thing.
And there's everyone there that you have something to talk about with. Like, everyone there wants to talk about the Thunder, is they're excited for the Thunder.
Yeah.
And everyone, you know, I talked to a bunch of people there. Not a bad apple in the bunch. They were all great. I did want to give a quick shout out to Ben Parham, who was handing out the hats.
Yeah.
That a lot of people have. We tweeted about him. If you guys want one, he just said to get into his DMs on Twitter. He's at Yugi, which is YUGI 123744. Check out those hats. Those things were awesome. And he was handing out to a bunch of people.
He was also the guy on the video that had really long hair in front of his face who was just like growling.
Yes.
So
There's a guy that looked like Wolverine. It looked like he had like saliva on his face.
yeah.
I don't know, man. That's wild. But one of the things I just did a quick research, like if you looked at the 2008 NBA draft, which Russell Westbrook was selected number 4 overall, is almost every mock that I could find had him slotted between 10 and 13 in that draft. So you do know that like Sam has a history.
Wait, who?
Russ.
Oh, Russ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he has a history of thinking really outside of the box, but I would be shocked if you move past these guys.
Shocked if you pooped.
Also, that
That
I
would be shocking.
shocked.
It would be shocking.
It yeah, that's my thought. Like, is he gonna reach for someone? But I don't think it one until you do. I think you go with,
Yeah.
the known things. But I don't know. I think at 12 you find someone that random that you really like.
Yeah.
Get them there. But I don't know.
It's going to be so fun no matter what, honestly.
No, it's like it's no wrong way to eat a Reese's situation. I'll be happy no matter what.
Yeah. We'll be right back after this quick break. And we're back after that quick break. Oh, man, do you have a deep dive?
I actually don't. I was going to, but that was going to be my giddy messaging chat, and then the hack guy. So I used him and then just talking. So I fell asleep last night at 8. So I
Wow.
also didn't have time.
Now, is this like like you went to bed at 8 or the normal L-Man takes an 8 p.m. nap?
It was started as Elman taking an 8 p.m. nap, but then it ended up as just sleeping all through the night.
Man,
Wow.
you must feel refreshed this morning.
Woke up at either midnight, like 12:30, and set the alarm for this morning. So I went down here this morning.
Wow.
I know.
You must feel awesome.
I feel pretty good.
Nice.
Excited for a Friday.
Friday.
Gonna have a nice little Saturday. Get to Home Depot.
All right. Well, let's. Oh, you going to Home
I
Depot?
don't know if I'll have time.
Oh, I'll be going. All right. It's time for some Twitter questions.
Twitter questions. You got questions and you ask them on Twitter. Now we answer them for you. This is Twitter questions.
I'm about to die.
Now let's get down to it.
That gets better every time I hear it.
It's like a fine wine, oh
It
man.
really is. Hey, our first Twitter question comes from @Sam_Mark_Kelly, who wants to know our way to early prediction. What seed will OKC get in the West next year?
So they were 14th this past year, only ahead of the Houston Rockets. I guess we can go through. To me, there's a chance they're that again, because if you look at the teams that are ahead of them, Portland wants to be better than 27 wins. Sacramento wants to be better than 30 wins. The Los Angeles Lakers are going to get LeBron James and Anthony Davis back, and will likely win more.
In theory,
and likely win more than 33 games. San Antonio Spurs are not going to take a step back. They're likely to take another step forward. The Clippers at 42 wins would like to be a 50-win team. The Pelicans at 36 wins would like to be a 41-win team. The Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, these are the teams that are ahead of them. And
now you never know. Like you
somebody's
never know, but
somebody's going to fall back. I just would be surprised if it's any one of those teams. Now, the Thunder could definitely be better than the Kings because the Kings are the Kings. Utah is a wild card. We don't know what Utah's offseason is going to look
Yeah,
like.
but I highly doubt they would ever even with Donovan Mitchell.
I mean,
and-
even if they just trade one of them, if they just trade Rudy and get something back, like they're likely
Yeah, they're
to
not
still
going to
be
get
a
down
good
in
team.
the 30s.
Yeah. So somebody's always worse than you anticipate. Portland was that team last year. A lot of people had Portland in the playoffs before the season. So that was a team. So there's
And the Lakers, obviously,
and the Lakers, yeah. But there's going to be a team that falls back. But the thing about the West is like it's competitive 1 through 13. Like all 13 teams that were ahead of the Thunder are going to want to be competitive again next year.
Well, even if you go over to the West or the East, excuse me, you're still going to be facing some of the same things. Who's willingly ready to take a step backward? I mean, probably still the Magic for another year. I think obviously
Magic.
the Pistons are going to be better. Whoever they get at 5 plus the guys they've already got.
Yeah. I think they want to take a step forward, I think. And then you look at like Indy wants to not be
makes
horrible.
Sense to be really bad, but they've got to trade Beal.
The thing about Washington is that they are more than
The
content.
Kings of the East.
They're more than content to try to make the play-in. Like that's what they want.
Knicks are going to be bad.
We don't know what they're going to do this offseason, But yeah, I would anticipate them being bad. Charlotte will be better. I mean, these are the teams that are in the play-in. Charlotte, Cleveland, Atlanta, Brooklyn. Like they're going to be good. Chicago, Toronto, Philly, Milwaukee, Boston, Miami. Like all those teams are going to be good. So we're really talking about like the Knicks, the Pistons, the Magic, the Wizards, and the Rockets, and the Thunder.
Yeah, and then a surprising team.
And then a team that we don't anticipate, like, I don't know, Utah, Chicago, whoever that falls.
Man, but both of those, and I know it's just practicing guessing, but most of those teams that you listed, like it would take a substantial, like Portland made sense because Dame got hurt, and when he got hurt, they benched Nurkic, they traded CJ, they just went all in. Like, what team could you lose one guy and a team would say, hey, we're going to rebuild immediately? If Utah, for me, I do think if Donovan Mitchell had some sort of injury, but Donovan Mitchell's 26?
Yeah.
It's not like Dame where it's like you need to save these years because you only got a few more left.
But my point is that I wouldn't anticipate them being all that much higher than they were this year. They may have a few more wins.
Yeah, they'll be a better team, I think, overall. But
they'll be a more talented team.
Yeah.
Will they have a better record? I think it's likely. Is it possible that they don't? Yes. Just because they're young, not because they are like tanking. Like I think like my hope is like the actual like tanking stuff, which like by the way only happened for like 6 games. Like the true tanking only happened for like 6 games. But the hope is like you can eliminate that by just playing young guys, period.
Right.
But we'll see. But I wouldn't anticipate them like moving into the play-in. I wouldn't anticipate that. I would guess that maybe next the season after this, then maybe they could be ready to take a step because Giddey will be entering year 3. Cheddar Jabari will be year 2. And it's like, okay, because from year 1 to year 2, that's when you find out what you've got in somebody.
Yeah.
Because they have like the pre-draft stuff takes up so much time. Like right now, these guys are at the combine, they're interviewing with teams, they're going to do individual workouts. Like it's just so much time that you don't really have to work on your game. You're just trying to prove yourself. And then you have to prove yourself again at Summer League. And then you take a little bit of time off, then it's training camp. And then you go through 82 games, which you've never done before in your life, and you're exhausted. Now you have a chance to breathe, work on your body, work on whatever happened in your rookie season that you're like, yeah, that didn't go well. You get to work on that and get a chance to make a leap. So year 2 for Giddey is huge. Year 2 for whoever they select at number 2 is going to be huge. And I could see a world where in year 2 for these guys that they get to the play-in. It's like, okay, that the arrival could happen pretty fast.
Did you see Giddey tweeting when he saw about not getting on the all-rookie first team?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because I like that. One, I like that he's tweeting about it. 2, I like that he didn't get the all-rookie first team.
Yeah.
Because he'll have that like fire in him to prove himself.
Yeah.
And I think that I like that.
Not that Giddey needed motivation. That guy is him and Chet competitive. Well, and even Shea. I mean, Shea is that way as well. Shea's just more reserved as far as the expression of it.
Yeah, definitely.
But Giddey, like that dude is going to work as hard as anybody else on that team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I love seeing that. It's kind of like I would love in the past whenever Russ would get slided
Yeah.
because you knew it would fuel his fire.
Yeah. No,
It's in a
I
similar way.
agree. They shouldn't even put him on the second team. Just keep him off it altogether.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go to our next Twitter question. It comes from @PukeCojam, who wants to know 12 plus Mitchich plus Bays to jump up in the lottery. If so, how high?
One, I don't think Baisley's somebody that's like teams that are higher up than us in the lottery are like, gosh, let's just get him. If he's on our team, like things are no. Like, don't worry about that. Micic, I don't know. Like, there's been rumors of him being interested in coming to the NBA for 6 or 7 years.
Is he just doing that to up his?
Yeah, it's
like,
leverage.
to leverage against the team,
Yeah,
so they pay
I think
him
there's
more.
some of that. I have heard from people that he really does genuinely have interest in the NBA. How much interest? I don't know.
Yeah,
It would have to be the right situation. I don't think the Thunder are the right situation. I do think that it is interesting, like a team like Washington, who's at 10. Like, does 12 and Mitchich get you to the 10th spot for them? Because they need a guard really badly. And Mitchich is ready to play now. He's ready to contribute now. You know, he's in his prime today. So if I'm Washington, like, I would very, very much consider doing a trade like that. And if you're the Thunder, like, I don't think Mitchich is going to be ready to come over or want to come over by the time the Thunder are ready to really compete at a high level. And
I mean, he's great, but also your front court or your back court,
it's already pretty crowded.
yeah, for a
Yeah.
guy that's going to want a lot.
Yeah. That's why I think like the Trailblazers too is interesting for them. And like those are the two teams that I would say if they do a lot of international scouting, which every team does, like I think they would have a level of interest in that. Now, you'd have to have his camp guaranteeing that he's,
Yeah.
if we're traded to Portland, we're coming over. If we're traded to Washington, we're coming over. But I also would not put any eggs. Keep all your eggs out of that basket, you know. And if it happens, like, you can be happy about it, but hold on to your eggs.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our next Twitter question. It comes from @OKC Skittles, who says, obviously what OKC does on draft night is unknown, but what would you want to see them do with the 4 picks they have? How many rookies would you want to have next season? Trade up, trade down, use every pick?
Jay?
I do. It doesn't really matter, right? With the way the Thunder use the blue and the way they use two-way players and the way, and I know we get partial guys like Lindy,
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Wiggins, or Andrew Wiggins, Aaron. Thank you. And you know, we get partial to these guys, but with the way they do it, if you bring in 4 guys, you're still going to have a shot to, like, they're going to find a way to get them at least some developmental time. I think that what does make sense is, like we've talked about, is can you pair 30 and 12 plus something to get 9 if you fall in love with somebody and this is what happens. It's the same thing with the Magic. Like, the Magic could actually leverage the number 1 pick if Sam falls in love with Chet and they're like, hey, we're going to take Chet unless you trade us blank +2 for this.
Mm-hmm.
That could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Sam's normally the one that plays those games more than other GMs, but that could be a thing. But I do wonder either the 12th pick, but you could really see the 30 and 34 if you find somebody at 26 and you're like, man, he would be a great, let's take a swing on this guy at 26. And you know that, whoever's sitting there is going to take him.
Mm-hmm.
Let me trade 30 and 34 for somebody that needs more draft assets. And that's the thing for Portland too, is if you give them multiple firsts, does it make it more likely that they could, take those multiple firsts and move them around for a viable player like Jeremy Grant or something like that? There's all sorts of variables in there.
Yeah.
I think the hard part for us is, or the important part, I mean, is to go back and remember that Sam, Woj mentioned it like in depth. Sam tried to get up for 3 in Mobley last year.
Yeah.
And when other teams aren't just always saying, all right, Sam, what do you want, man? Just let me know and I'll make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, there has to be something that's mutually beneficial. And just because we think that 12 and Mitchich is going to get you up, or, 30 and 34 is going to get you to 27 or 6 or 5.
Yeah. We don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah. I would like to see them have 3 first-round picks.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I would hope. I can't pretend that I know a ton about the guys that are from 30 to 34 very well yet. Like, I know the names, I know the kind of players they are. I haven't watched them in detail yet. So, there's going to be, I think from 20, I've heard from 25 to 50, like, you just don't know what the order is going to be. There could be a guy on somebody's draft board at 25 that goes 45. So that range is just going to be wild. It's like one of the more unpredictable drafts in a long time, because we don't know where these guys are going to go. And it's going to make draft night really exciting. And also, I do think that it makes the picks more tradable, because I do think that there's a lot of malleability in what you can do here. So I would like them to have 3 first-round picks. That's kind of what I would want. And obviously, it's Cheddar Jabari at 1, at 12. I would like for them to take a wing or somebody that's versatile. Dyson Daniels is like probably number 1 on my list, just because he's really, really young. He's got good size and length, has the ability to shoot it, great defender. Like, there's a lot of reasons to really like him. So he's probably number 1 on my list. If they're to trade up, like, Ben Mathurin is probably the guy I'd want them to get. And then at 30, I don't have a great feel for that range yet, but I will in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, the only guy in that range that you take a flyer on for me, or if you did want to put 30 and 34 together for 20, maybe the Bucks want 2 guys because they need more minimum contract guys to fill out the roster, and so that's what they want to do. And then you could jump up and maybe get a Patrick Baldwin Jr., who's the guy that has the most potential, but was a total flame out in college. Like, but that's all. I mean, we're just spitballing at this point.
Yeah,
I gotta go to work, but before I do, I'll read the next Twitter question.
Oh boy,
it comes from @PanikedWaddle. Said, if we truly got the second pick because a bird took a number 2 on Andrew next year, would he be willing to let an animal go number 1 on him so we could get Wembanyama? And if you were willing to get number 2 on, like, number 1 is like,
well, I wasn't willing. It just happened to me.
It was fated to happen.
It was. I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
It was a bird?
I mean, it was a bird.
We gotta get a bigger animal. If you're getting number 1 on,
like a lion.
Yes.
Yes.
Gotta start hanging.
Or an elephant.
They have a walk the zoo thing on Thursdays.
Oh yeah.
Start going to it.
Okay.
And start walking pretty close to those cages.
Next May.
Got to get a little square.
Early May, I'll be walking the zoo every Thursday.
There you go.
Trying to get Pete on.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm going to work.
All right. Bye, old man.
bye.
Want to fire through these, Jamon?
Yeah, some of them are just stuff we've already probably talked about. And so I won't thank you for sending them. Like @MeLoveThundamo said, does trading the 30th for a future top 20 pick make sense for LA, the Lakers at all? They need cheap deals and we have a roster crunch. Potentially, like any of that stuff makes sense. I don't know what the Lakers are going to do. They don't know what they're going to do. It is a catastrophe of a franchise.
Yeah, and they've traded so many future assets already that they may not be the team that would actually do that at this point.
Yeah, @Zach Deeg asked the question, are there any, are an odds for Presti to trade back? He's mentioned that their boards don't match other boards. If you value someone later at the top and is confident to get him later and pick up more assets, would he go from 2 to 6?
It's always possible. I would always...
Probably not.
I'd be surprised. I think the goal for a while has been to get into the top 5 or into the top 3 if possible, and then you get there and then you trade back would be surprising. Because if you look at like all NBA teams and if you look at the history of teams that make it to the finals, most of those teams have got a guy that's in the top 3.
Yeah.
And so that's where you want to be selecting. If you're 4 or 5 or 6, there it's just murky and you can be more flexible. But to me, I think it would be foolish.
This one's from @Alex_Bowlerjack. Schlecht recently was talking on one of the billions of podcasts he does that donuts being breakfast food. That was almost a bad slip.
was.
Is strange. What other food would you make canonical as breakfast food? So donuts being breakfast food is strange. So what is like belongs in the breakfast food pantheon?
I mean, the egg is breakfast.
And breakfast meats.
Yeah.
Sausage, bacon, pancakes.
Pancakes, definitely.
Pancakes might be my favorite of all the breakfast foods.
They're
I
good.
freaking love pancakes.
They're very good.
We went to I was in Denver a few weeks ago. We went to Snooze AM Eatery,
Ooh.
which is like Neighborhood Jam basically.
Yeah.
And but before Neighborhood Jam. And I don't know what they put in their pancakes, but it was like a sweet cream in the middle of it. I don't know, man. It was unbelievable.
You into Kodiak cakes?
Yeah, we'll do some of them. I'm real particular on stuff that I like. I just immediately dismiss things that are not the original for some
Yeah.
reason.
They're good though.
They're not as good.
You think so?
I don't think so.
Wow.
Here's what we'll do: is one of these days we'll come over to my house. We'll set up my griddle. We'll
Yeah.
do a blind taste test, and we'll see if we can tell a difference. If I could actually tell a difference, my wife loves them. My wife.
I can't tell the difference.
Yeah,
I'll do. I mean, you crack an egg in there.
yeah.
Throw
You
some
make
milk.
them.
Yeah.
You talking waffles?
I mean,
Little oil?
waffles. Yeah,
Little
whatever,
oil?
man. Like they're super good. These are protein pancakes, by the way, like protein pancake mix.
Yeah, so it's a little less calories and a little more protein. It's still a pancake. It's not like it's not like it's health food, but it's another
It's
one of those-
it's way closer to health food than a regular.
It is way
pancake.
closer, but
This
it's
is not
still a
It's not
pancake.
Bisquick here.
Gosh, pancakes are fantastic. Any other random things? Like, what's the random thing that you would think on a breakfast? So when I went to Israel a few years ago, one of the
Mhm.
things in Israel is you'll see is, and this is in a lot of countries. I bet McKelly would speak to this as well, as which his Monday pod was a must listen, fantastic.
It was so good.
Pre-lottery pod.
It was like the perfect, like, I need something to calm me down. And it's just McKelly talking about cooking.
And McKelly is like, he genuinely, when he podcasts, he seems like, and he is like, we've got to meet him, and I'll tell that story in just a second, but he just seems like the sweetest man ever. Like, just
He is. Yeah.
Anyway.
He genuinely is. Yes.
He came in Oklahoma City, and he talked about this a little bit in the podcast, but he came to Oklahoma City and actually hosted a collection of us over at Andrew's house. I don't know
Mhm.
when that was, 2017, 16, 18.
17.
And
Yeah.
he cooked like, oh my gosh, like he had a soup, and he had
That was 18, I think. Yeah.
he did a beef tartare for an appetite. I mean, it was like
So good.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
So it's not just talk; it's like he actually puts that into practice. So-
Yeah.
but what I was going to say is, there any kind of, like in Israel, it's like veggies and hummus and
For breakfast?
yes,
Weird.
like it would feel like a lunch spread here. That's what they
Yeah.
get for breakfast there. So anything you think that you would like that other people might find weird for breakfast?
I'm very traditional when it comes to
I am too.
breakfast, and I'm willing to shame people who do weird things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I do like if you've ever had good grits, like
Yeah.
cheese grits, but that's not weird.
Yeah, it's not that
It's
weird.
just not
It's like,
it's
more
not
southern.
as much. Yeah, it is. Man,
Yeah.
they're good.
Yeah.
All right, this is going to be our last question from @BenElephantKing. Shout out Jesse. Thanks for coming to the podcast or the party. Question about clothes worn to the draft party. Do we wear them in a normal pre-lottery party rotation, store away untouched under glass until next year? So he's talking about the draft lottery. Or wear what you wore on lottery night under your normal clothes every day.
If you want to be lucky, I would say I think that's a good luck charm. I would say everybody remember what you wore to the draft party.
Yep.
And next year we'll do it again.
Yep.
And you can wear the same clothes then. I had my Deborah Bucket's Trivia Hour shirt. I had my Poku pack on. I'll be doing the same thing next year.
I had my
Guaranteed.
original Down to Dunk shirt, the one that Andrew's wearing today.
Yep.
Not the same one, mine. And
We
that's what
share
I'll
it.
be wearing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some blue shorts and a hat that I got from Old Boy that Luke was talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, just make sure you wear that again next year. And I am weirdly superstitious
Yeah.
about things. Like when I was playing a lot of sports, like I would try to do the same routine. So I would take this before and eat this before.
Yeah.
Don't eat this before. Wear these socks if I played well, and if I didn't, I wouldn't wear them the next week.
Uh-huh.
So it's funny, like listen to Antonio Daniels
Yeah,
talk about that.
AD.
Same, yeah.
I know that was funny.
So,
Yeah, that was awesome.
one last question for you, Andrew. It's hard this week, but could there possibly be something in your life that has made you miffed and peeved?
Ooh, my toilet broke. So
House
I gotta
problems,
so
man.
I gotta go buy a part for it this morning at the Home Depot.
But you're a handyman.
I'm a guy who can YouTube things is what I am. I'm not a handyman. I wouldn't know how to fix things without YouTube. YouTube makes me look like more of a man.
It's changed the game
Yeah.
for people like us.
Yeah, it's great.
We had so our upstairs toilet wasn't flushing correctly.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh gosh, I'm going to have to replace the whole toilet. And so I'm like, all right, toilet not fully flushing. Like it was
Yeah.
flushing, but not enough.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, so a lot of times what they can be is like calcium buildup. So there's a pressure thing underneath the toilet, and then there could be calcium buildup underneath where when the water pushes in, it doesn't push in with enough force.
Yeah.
And they're like, so put vinegar in your toilet,
Yeah.
and then brush it really well. And then also if you can find a way to unclog that pressure thing. So I was gonna call a plumber.
Yeah.
Instead,
No.
toilet brush, vinegar, toilet works
Good
perfect.
work. Wow. See, it's bad for plumbers though.
It is. It has put some journeymen a little bit more.
All
out of
their
business.
easy jobs are going to the YouTubers.
That's all right because they're still charging you $12,000 for air conditioning units.
Exactly right.
So-
Oh boy. Well, we'll have more shows for you guys.
So much content.
It's
coming.
gonna be great. These next few weeks are gonna be so fun diving into the draft. So be sure to subscribe. If you're not subscribed on YouTube, go to youtube.com, search Down to Dunk and hit subscribe. Go to theathletic.com/Down to Dunk and get the Athletic for $1 a month for 6 months. If you haven't done that already, it's going to be great. We will talk to you guys again on Monday.